Hi everyone, welcome back to DGMC, Diwan-e-Ghalib, Meri Zubani. To all our returning viewers, we are very happy you could join us again. And to the new viewers, we are delighted you discovered the podcast and decided to tune in for the first time. Now, if you were with me in the previous episode, you know that currently we are going through Ghazal 23 from Diwan-e-Ghalib, Dar-Khur-e-Qahr-o-Ghazab, Jab Koi Hamsa Na Hua. We've already covered 5 couplets. The episodes are up on the channel. Today we are going to get into the 6th couplet. As always, I'm going to read the couplet first and then we will get into the impressions. So this is how it goes. नाम का मेरे है, नाम का मेरे है, वो दुख की किसी को ना मिला. नाम का मेरे है, वो दुख की किसी को ना मिला. काम में मेरे है, वो फितना की बरपा ना हुआ. So let's do a quick approximate translation. First line, नाम का मेरे है जो दुख की किसी को ना मिला. Accompanying my name is a one of its kind sorrow and grief that no one else ever received. Second line, काम में मेरे है जो फितना की बरपा न हुआ. Accompanying my work is that conflict, that commotion, that calamity that did not ever before arise. So it is, keeping in mind this is a Ghalib's couplet, it is a fairly easy couplet. It does not have a lot of complex words, but true to our tradition, we are going to pick up the keywords, try to explore them through other shayars and their shairi, and then get into the impression. So first line, नाम का मेरे है जो दुख की किसी को ना मिला. नाम, नाम technically translates to name. Something you identify a person or a thing with. Something that describes the person or the thing it belongs to. अब गालिब का ही ये शेर देखें. छेड़ता हूँ कि उनको गुस्सा आए, छेड़ता हूँ कि उनको गुस्सा आए, क्यों रखूँ वरना गालिब अपना नाम. So the approximate translation is, I tease her. I tease the beloved on purpose. I tease her purposefully so that she gets angry. Because, after all, what is the point of having a name like Ghalib, which translates to the vanquisher, the conqueror, right? So Ghalib says, what's the name? What's the point in having such a lofty name if I am going to be scared of teasing her because she is going to get angry? After all, my name is one with a lot of strength and might, so I take that chance. शकील बदायूं का ये शेर, ए मोहब्बत तेरे अंजाम पे रोना आया, ए मोहब्बत तेरे अंजाम पे रोना आया, जाने क्यों आज तेरे नाम पे रोना आया. So the approximate translation is that love, today I cried when I saw your ultimate end or result, right? And yes, today even the mention of your name brought tears to my eyes. That is the impact that that your result, your ultimate finale, your result, your end had on me. And then last one, Imam Bakhsh Nasik ka sher, जिंदगी जिंदा दिली का है नाम, मुर्दा दिल खाक जिया करते हैं. So the approximate translation is, life is a name given to people who have a heart which is alive. People with hearts that are dead do not live. They should not be addressed by the name life. to be addressed as alive or to be addressed as someone with life, you should have a heart. You should have a heart which is alive. So that takes care of Naam. Naam ka mere hai jo Dukh. So Dukh translates to grief, sorrow, suffering, distress. A very common word, just like Naam, that we use often in our day-to-day vocabulary. अहमद फराज का ये शेर देखें, ज़ब्त लाजिम है मगर दुख है क़यामत का फराज. बहुत प्यारा शेर है. ज़ब्त लाजिम है मगर दुख है क़यामत का फराज, जालिम अब के भी ना रोएगा तो मर जाएगा. So the approximate translation is yes. The natural thing to do would be self-control. Zabt, right? The natural thing to do would be to control myself, to show extreme self-control. But the grief today is of an intensity that is equivalent to doomsday itself for us. And the poet is addressing himself when he says for us. So that is the kind of grief I am encountering today, which is almost at par with the grief and sorrow of doomsday, judgment day. So even though patience and self-control should be the way to go, if today also I do not give in, if today also I do not let go of the self-control and patience I've been showing and weep, cry, vent out, I will die. This is too much to keep inside. वसीम बरेलवी का ये शेर, क्या दुख है समुंदर को बता भी नहीं सकता, क्या दुख है समुंदर को बता भी नहीं सकता, आंसू की तरह आंख तक आ भी नहीं सकता. Again, just detailing the amount of grief, incalculable. You cannot calculate it, the amount of grief, right? So the approximate translation is, the ocean cannot even express how much grief it is holding inside of it. The ocean cannot even begin to express, it cannot even begin to quantify the amount of grief it is holding inside of it. Unlike the tear, right? Unlike the tear, this ocean cannot come to the eye and get rolled down the cheek. So this extreme amount of grief, right, which has the expanse of an ocean, has to be held in. Unlike that drop of tear that has the privilege to come to the eye and then get cried out, right, let out. So that, okay, there is one more for Dukh. Ibn Insha, and we cannot miss this one, right? It's a good one. गो आग से छाती जलती थी, गो आँख से दरिया बहता था. गो आग से छाती जलती थी, गो आँख से दरिया बहता था, हर एक से दुख नहीं कहता था, चुप रहता था, गम सहता था. Again, not only detailing the extreme amount of grief, but the self-control it requires. The greater the grief, the greater the self-control you have to exercise to hold it in. So the approximate translation is, though my heart used to burn with a fire, and my eyes used to weep an ocean. The heart contained a fire inside it, and the eyes wept an ocean. I still did not express my grief and sorrow to even a single person. I remained silent, and I kept all this inside. Kept exerting self-control and contained it all inside. So that takes care of all the keywords in नाम का मेरे वो दुख है कि किसी को ना मिला. Moving on to the second line, काम में मेरे है वो फितना. Fitna. So fitna translates to mischief, quarrel, commotion. But at an extreme level, it can be almost something very complex, something akin to a calamity. राइट हजूम एक किस्म का क़यामत टाइप का एक कॉनोटेशन वर्ड को आता है व्हेन एक्सप्रेस्ड एट अ इंटेंस लेवल. अब इसके लिए असरारुल हक मजाज का ये शेर, इश्क ही इश्क है दुनिया मेरी, इश्क ही इश्क है दुनिया मेरी, फितनाए अकल से बेजार हूँ मैं. गुड वन, राइट. सो द अप्रॉक्सीमेट ट्रांसलेशन इज लव and only love is what makes my entire world. I'm totally ignorant about the commotion, the calamity, the noise a thing called brain makes. My world is all about heart. My world is all about love. I do not get into the commotion the brain creates, the calamity the brain creates. दाग देलवी का ये शेर, फितना गर क्या मकान से निकला फितना गर क्या मकान से निकला, आसमां आसमां से निकला. So the approximate translation is this जो कयामत ढाने वाली चीज़, right? This calamitous thing has finally stepped out of her house. It almost seems as heaven has stepped out of heaven. Right, just talking about the beloved, and now that she's out, right, on the out of her house and visible to everybody, now she is going to create a commotion, a calamity that all lovers are looking forward to and dreading. बेजाद लखनवी का ये शेर, जब तक ना मिला था तू ए फितना ए दो आलम, जब तक ना मिला था तू ए फितना ए दो आलम, जब दर्द से गाफिल था अब दर्द की दुनिया हूँ. So the approximate translation is, till the time I had met you beloved, you beloved who is a cause of commotion and calamity in both worlds. Till the time I had met you, I was totally ignorant about pain. I didn't even know what pain was. And after meeting you, now I am a world of pain. World of pain. That is the impact you, calamitous one, has had on me. So that takes care of fitna. Moving on to barpa. Barpa translates to something happening, something manifesting. So बहुत प्यारा शेर है नासिर काज़मी का, शोर बरपा है खानाए दिल में, शोर बरपा है खानाए दिल में, कोई दीवार सी गिरी है अभी. So basically the approximate translation is, suddenly I hear this sound manifest in my heart. Somewhere some wall has crumbled, and wall can be metaphorical here for so many things, but we are not doing an impression, we are just doing a translation for now. Next शेर अकबर अलाहाबादी का, एंड आपने ये भी सुना होगा शायद, हंगामा है क्यों बरपा, थोड़ी सी जो पीली है, डाका तो नहीं डाला, चोरी तो नहीं की है. डाका तो नहीं मारा, my apologies, डाका तो नहीं मारा, चोरी तो नहीं की है. So the approximate translation is, what is this commotion and noise all about just because I've had a drink? What is the commotion all about? What is the noise all about? Just because I've had a drink, it's not as if I have gone and robbed someone. It's not as if I have stolen something which wasn't mine. It's not as if I have done something wrong by extension, right? So what is the noise and commotion all about? Okay, so that takes care of all the key words, Naam, Dukh, Fitna and Barpa. Now, when you look at this couplet, like I said, when you read it, it comes across, the first thing that grabs your attention is the simplicity of the couplet. It reads so simply, it flows so simply, not a lot of complex words, not a lot of complex phrases. If you look at the first line, so simple, so clear. There is not even a single word in there which can be called complicated. Such easy words. नाम का मेरे है वो दुख कि किसी को ना मिला. इसमें कोई complexity है ही नहीं. Second thing that catches your attention is how both the lines start with Naam and Kaam. Naam, that translates to name. Kaam, that translates to deeds. And no, we did not think that Naam and Kaam are put here by Ghalib because they rhyme. After all, this is not an advertisement jingle for a bar of soap or a bag of chips, right? This is Ghalib's couplet. Each word is inserted like the jeweler puts jewels in an ornament, right? Sets jewels in an ornament. And each word has a meaning, not only a meaning, each word has layers of meaning, right? And keeping that in mind, we started thinking, well, the big question is why Naam and Kaam, right? Though इतने simple words यूज़ किए हैं इस कपलेट में. अब जब आप पहली लाइन पढ़ते हैं, नाम का मेरे वो दुख है कि किसी को ना मिला, the first thing that you perceive from the line is maybe Ghalib is saying what was destined for me, what was fated for me, what was meant for me, right? So if he meant that, why say Naam? Why wouldn't he say something like किस्मत का मेरी जो दुख है किसी को ना मिला, या तकदीर का मेरी जो दुख है किसी को ना मिला, और किस्मत का मेरी जो फितना है वो कभी बरपा ना हुआ, या तकदीर का मेरी जो फितना है वो कभी. Why didn't he say that if that's what he wanted to convey, right? That this Dukh and Fitna were destined for me. They were written for me. They were fated for me. He says, नाम का मेरे है जो दुख, काम का मेरे है जो फितना. एंड ऐसा तो है नहीं कि गालिब ने कभी अपने दुख को, अपनी तकलीफ़ों को अपनी किस्मत के साथ जोड़ा नहीं है. It's not as if Ghalib has never connected the extreme amount of grief and sorrow his life had with his destiny and fate. He has done it. So it's not as if he couldn't do it again in this couplet, right? If you remember, उनका ये शेर, हम कहाँ के दाना थे, किस हुनर में यकता थे, बेसबब हुआ गालिब, दुश्मन आसमां अपना. Right? The approximate translation is, I never said that I was a big expert on anything. I never said that I'm one of my kind, that there is no one equal to me. Without any rhyme or reason, fate and stars and destiny just seems to have conspired against me. Right? And then उनका ये दूसरा शेर, मेरी किस्मत में गम गर इतना था, दिल भी यार अब कई दिए होते हैं. Again, referring to his fate and destiny. So the approximate translation is, God, if you had planned to destine and fate me with so much grief, so much sorrow, then you should have given me more than one heart. The amount of sorrow you have written in my kismat cannot be handled by just one heart alone. You should have given me more hearts. So all this to emphasize the fact that if he wanted to connect the Dukh and Fitna in this couplet with his kismat, his taqdeer, he could easily have done that. But he doesn't. He doesn't. He connects his Dukh to his name and his Fitna to his deed. And that is a very interesting twist. right? That is a very interesting twist. Why Naam and Kaam? Why did Ghalib choose Naam and Kaam to detail the excess of Dukh and the excess of fitna he went through? Now, we all know that Naam technically translates to name or something that one is identified with, right? Actually, his identity per se is his name, right? Now, name is not something we are born with. Now, our destiny we are born with, our fate we are born with, our genes, our body, our looks, our structure we are born with, physical structure, right? Name we are not born with. Name is something that we choose. Name is something that we choose for ourselves. Of course, it is our parents who choose it for us. But again, name is very carefully chosen specifically for a person. And very carefully, a name is picked for every individual to ensure there is maximum description, maximum match, maximum complementing of that person's attributes, whatever attributes are evident at that younger age, right? So name is something that we pick for ourselves, and then of course we spend our entire life creating a very specific personal identity around that name. If there is one J and there is another J, their identities are different, right? This J will create an identity for J basis his personality, and this J will create an identity for this J basis his personality, right? So names are driven by the identity backing them. So, true to our DGMZ podcast tradition, we went down the rabbit hole of research. Well, what is so specific about a name? What kind of importance, what kind of relevance, what kind of power does the name of a person has? And when we were doing a research, we came across many interesting things, many interesting theories, many interesting philosophies and concepts. But we will share with you just a few, right? Because we do think that though they might not directly play into our couplet, they do still sensitize us to the importance, relevance, and power of name. So, we came across a very interesting theory called true name theory. This theory states the true name of a being is like a Platonic blueprint to the creature, which is a description of the being from its internal organs to its very soul. The belief that language or specific sacred language refers to people and things by their true names. This has been central to philosophical study as well as various traditions of magic, religious invocation, and mysticism since long back. Lastly, the true name theory is a folklore practice that suggests that knowing a person or a thing's true name gives the person who knows it magical power over them. This idea is also known as the law of names. So, the name that is true to you or the name that you are true to has immense powers. There are some very interesting examples in history with reference to the power of name, right? Now, for thousands of years, religious Jews have avoided speaking the name of God. The ancient Jews considered God's true name so potent, so powerful, that its invocation conferred upon the speaker tremendous power over God's creations. And hence, to prevent abuse of this power, as well as to avoid blasphemy, the name of God was always taboo and increasingly disused in Jewish tradition and culture. Also, in Jewish tradition, when several children have died in a family, the next one that is born has no name given to it, and the child is referred to as alter or alteruk, and I might be mispronouncing it, so apologies for that. The idea behind this is that when the angel of death will come, not knowing the name of the child, because the child does not have a name, the angel of death will not be able to seize it. And then when this child will attain the marriageable age, a new name, generally that one of the patriarchs will be given to him. Such is the power of name, right? Now, there is another very interesting story. Now, this is Egyptian, from Egyptian culture. So, the true name of the Egyptian sun god, Ra, was revealed to Isis through an elaborate trick. Isis frequently schemed against Ra, as she wanted her son, Horus, to have the power. In one myth, Isis created a serpent to poison Ra and only gave him the antidote when Ra revealed his true name to her. Ra, after that, always feared Isis because he knew his secret name was revealed to her and she could now use all her power against him and have Horus take over the throne. So again, just the power that is attached to a true name of someone. And then this last one, probably you would have heard it. I did in my childhood as part of the different stories I came across. So this is a German fairy tale. It's a well-known folk story of Rumpelstiltskin, right? Where there is a miller who tricks the king into believing his daughter can spin straw into gold. The king hence locks this miller's daughter in a room with straw and a spinning wheel and demands that she turn all the straw into gold by morning. Otherwise, he's going to kill her. Now, in the story, there is a little man called Rumpelstiltskin who appears and spins the straw into gold in exchange for the miller's daughter necklace and ring. The king then orders the miller's daughter to spin even more straw into gold and offers to marry her if she succeeds. Now, when the miller's daughter has nothing left to give Rumpelstiltskin, he demands her firstborn child. The miller's daughter promises that. Rumpelstiltskin helps her spin the gold again, and the king marries this lady, and the miller's daughter becomes the queen. But as soon as she has her first baby, Rumpelstiltskin appears to claim the child. Now she pleads him not to take the child, so Rumpelstiltskin says, "Well, you have 3 days. If you can guess my name, I will let go of my prize, which is your firstborn child." So you have 3 days. Now this queen, she sends everybody far and wide in the whole kingdom looking for all names, right? And all names are heard, all names are known, none of them is agreed to by this guy Rumpelstiltskin. He says, "No, these are not my names." But there is one messenger which the queen sends out who finds Rumpelstiltskin dancing in a forest, singing, "Today do I bake, tomorrow I brew." The day after that, the queen's child comes in. And oh, I'm glad that nobody knew that the name I'm called is Rumpelstiltskin. This messenger sees this little guy dancing and singing this song. He tells the queen tells the name to the little guy. He has to agree that is the original name, and he lets go of the firstborn child, and that's how she saves her child. So again, it's a children's story, but just another story which tells you about the power in a name. All this to establish the fact that the name of the person does hold great power. It holds the essence of that person. It holds the reputation, the honor, and many times their safety, right, in itself. So the name of a person is very powerful. And we think at DGMZ that this is possibly the flavor, the essence Ghalib wanted to bring to this couplet. And hence the usage of the word Naam instead of Kismat or Taqdeer, right? Now, in this first line, right, where he says, नाम का मेरे है वो दुख कि किसी को ना मिला. Ghalib is saying that I am the only one. I am the only one who has this honor attached to his name of having or possessing unmatched ability to survive unmatched level of sorrow and grief with dignity, with decorum, with self-respect, right? So Ghalib is saying with my name is associated a reputation, a honor, right, which stems from the fact that I had unmatched ability to deal with unmatched level of grief and sorrow. Yes, of course, it was destined for me. It was written for me. But I actually lived it. I actually fulfilled that destiny. Writing is not enough. Somebody has to fulfill that destiny. Just writing it doesn't fulfill it. Somebody has to live that destiny. I lived it. When extreme grief and power was sent my way, I matched it with my extreme ability to handle it. And ये उनका एक attitude था. This was Ghalib's attitude. And there is a beautiful couplet which captures this attitude, right? रात दिन गर्दिश में है सात आसमां. रात दिन गर्दिश में है सात आसमां, हो रहेगा कुछ ना कुछ, घबराएं क्या. So the approximate translation is day and night continuously without stopping from the beginning of time. All seven heavens are conspiring, are changing fates, are writing destinies, are rewriting destinies. They are continuously doing this. Continuously. Therefore, something or the other will happen. Good or bad, something or the other will happen. Now, why should you spend your entire life worrying about what is going to happen? What is going to happen? Something is going to happen. Be rest assured. Be rest assured something is going to happen. So don't waste time. Don't waste time worrying about it, right? So with that attitude, of course, there is this personality, there is this temperament which says that yes, extreme grief, which was unmatched in its extremity, was sent to me, and I responded to it with my unmatched ability to deal with it. And by introducing that phrase, right, Kisi ko na mila, no one ever got it. Ghalib sets both the grief that he is dealing with and his ability to deal with it in a class of its own, in a league of its own. No one has ever encountered this thing, and no one ever had the ability like me to encounter this thing. And that is what sets me apart. That is what sets my name apart. These are the unmatched things that are associated with my name, because I fulfilled it, I lived it, I manifested it, I executed it, I dealt with it. जॉन इलिया का ये शेर बहुत प्यारा है. अपने सब यार काम कर रहे हैं अपने सब यार काम कर रहे हैं और हम हैं कि नाम कर रहे हैं. I love it. I love it. It's sorry, I laughed. I should probably reread it. You might not have caught it. अपने सब यार काम कर रहे हैं और हम हैं कि नाम कर रहे हैं. Right? Again, just everybody is doing the run-of-the-mill things, right? Game rozgar, right? But I am here creating an identity for myself. I am here creating an identity around my name, right? Building a personal brand for myself, for being a lover who is going to face the worst of griefs and sorrows. I have decided to build a reputation, a name, and identity around that. It almost seems that Ghalib says, जो दुख झेला है मैंने वो दुख भी किसी को नहीं मिला, और ये करने से जो नाम मैंने कमाया, राइट, वो नाम भी किसी ने नहीं कमाया. फिर the grief I encountered and my ability to survive that grief I encountered, both are unmatched. Both are one of their kind. Never before and never after me will they happen this way ever again. And to end our first line's impression, two quotes. First one from Charles Caleb Colton. The inheritance of a distinguished and noble name. The inheritance of a distinguished and noble name is a proud inheritance to him who lives worthily of it. You have to earn your name. You have to earn your reputation. And then the second quote by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. A man's name is not like a mantle which merely hangs about him, and which one perchance may safely twitch and pull, but a perfectly fitting garment which, like the skin, has grown over him, at which one cannot rake and scrape without injuring the man himself. What a beautiful quote, right? That the name of a man is not some loosely fitted mantle that has been hung around your neck and you will keep it hanging around your neck for the rest of your life. No. Your name is like a perfectly fitting garment, so perfect in its fit that it is just like your skin. And no one can scrape or scratch away that name from you without actually peeling at your skin. That is how tightly your name is joined to you as a person. Okay, so that takes care of नाम का मेरे है वो दुख कि किसी को ना मिला. Moving on to काम में मेरे है जो फितना की बरपा ना हुआ. Now, exact same theme continues in the second line as it did in the first line. Just like he started the first line with नाम का मेरे, he starts the second line with काम में मेरे. Kaam, that technically translates to deeds. Again, something which requires actual work and effort from someone to be fulfilled, to be done, to be completed, to be manifested. Just like building of a name for oneself, deeds or actions associated with oneself are also something that only manifest with one's own effort. No amount of destiny, no amount of taqdeer, no amount of kismat will do this effort for you. It is your karma. It has to be done by you. In this second line, once again, Ghalib details that. He says, my deeds are associated and connected to a level of complexity and commotion that no one has ever encountered, no one has ever solved, no one has ever survived. Now, this fitna, this calamity, this commotion that Ghalib is mentioning, usually in Urdu poetry, it will be associated with the beloved, as far as the lover goes, right? For the lover, the biggest fitna is associated with the beloved. The biggest calamity, commotion, is the biggest complexity is associated with the beloved. In fact, Ghalib himself goes on to say that had it not been for the beloved, Ghalib would never ever know what calamity felt like. उनका ये शेर है, जब तक कि ना देखा था कदे यार का आलम, जब तक कि ना देखा था कदे यार का आलम, मैं मुताकीद फितनाए महशर न हुआ था. The approximate translation is, till the time I had not laid my eyes on the beauty, the grace, the stature of the beloved. Till that moment, till the moment I had not seen her, I was totally unaware, totally a disbeliever in the stories and myths around calamity. It's only after seeing her that I started believing in calamity. I started believing in doomsday. And then Ghalib in another couplet goes on to say that thanks to the beloved, now he has been introduced to calamity. Now he has been introduced to this level of complexity. And after knowing it, he never wants to be away from it. He never wants to stop experiencing it. तो फिर उनका ये शेर है, उस फितना खू के दर से अब उठते नहीं असद, उस फितना खू के दर से अब उठते नहीं असद, उसमें हमारे सर पे कयामत ही क्यों ना हो. Approximate translation is, I, Asad, and Ghalib is referring to himself, that was his pen name, I, Asad, refuse to rise up and leave the door of this calamitous beloved of mine. Now, even if doomsday itself would pass over me, I would not budge now that I have experienced her calamitous personality. So, in this second line, Ghalib says, the commotion, the complexity, the calamity that I have encountered, and my ability to solve and deal with it, both are unmatched. Both are one of their kind. Never before and never after me will they happen this way ever again. Almost mirror image, right? Second line of the first line. So that takes care of the second line. Now in totality, right? In totality, this is a beautiful and, in our humble opinion, a very inspiring couplet, where once again Ghalib describes a rare approach, a rare stance, a very rare perception one can adopt in the face of extreme trial and tribulation, extreme grief and sorrow, extreme adversity and calamity. Ghalib's choice of Naam and Kaam is done with a purpose. The purpose is to differentiate between destiny written and destiny fulfilled. Naam and Kaam are part of the destiny fulfilled, which is what we make for ourselves with our own effort. Though destiny written might have planned great good or great bad things for us, but that is just half of the story. The other half of the story is when we actually fulfill what has been planned, destined, and fated for us by our own effort. In the process, creating our name, our reputation, our identity through deeds and actions. For a masterful player, right, the stakes in the game are always increased beyond any previous set limit. A master player does not play small stakes. For a masterful player, the maze has to be more complex. The weight to be lifted has to be heavier. The depth of dive has to be deeper. Height of the jump has to be higher than ever before. That's what happens when a person with Ghalib's caliber enters the arena of grief and calamity. It's almost as if grief and calamity have never encountered this level of resilience, this level of self-assuredness, this level of self-control in a spirit before. And both grief, which is Dukh in the couplet, and calamity, which is fitna in the couplet, they both realize that they have to put forward their best foot for this extraordinary player that has entered the arena. To match his caliber, to test his name, Naam, to challenge his ability of deeds, Kaam, grief and calamity have to be at their best, have to be at their most intense levels. Only then will they be able to give this player a challenge worth his caliber. And Ghalib, of course, when playing this game, right, will show such decorum, such dignity, such self-respect while he's dealing with these extremes of Dukh and Fitna, that Dukh and Fitna themselves probably will feel honored to be associated with his name, with his deeds. Dukh will never be glorified the way it is when associated with the name Ghalib. Neither will Fitna be ever talked about the way it is when associated with Ghalib's deeds. And similarly, no one will have their name glorified the way Ghalib had with reference to extreme grief, and no one will ever have their deeds glorified with reference to extreme complexity, commotion and calamity like Ghalib did. So that is how we understand this couplet, that introduction of Naam and Kaam has been brought into the couplet by Ghalib to make that differentiation. That तकदीर में तो कई लोगों के बड़ा गम लिखा होगा, तकदीर में तो कई लोगों के बड़ा फितना लिखा होगा, बट उसके साथ जो डील करता है वो अलग अलग लेवल पे है, उसके साथ जो डीलिंग है वो अलग अलग लेवल पे है, हर इंसान अलग लेवल पे कर रहा है. मेरा लेवल अनमैच्ड है. एंड ज़्यादा दूर जाने की तो ज़रूरत है नहीं, राइट. इस गज़ल का जो मतला था वही तो है ना. ये मतला क्या था? दर-खुर-ए-qahr-o-Ghazab जब कोई हमसा न हुआ, फिर गलत क्या है कि हमसा कोई पैदा ना हुआ. यही तो था ना मतला, कि जब किसी ने हमारे जैसा गज़ब झेला नहीं तो फिर इसमें क्या गलत है कि हमसे कोई पैदा नहीं हुआ. when the trials and tribulations were unmatched, the ones that were sent to me, then what is wrong in saying that my ability to deal with them was also unmatched? So we think it is the same theme playing. Now we are going to end this impression by two quotes. This one is from Viktor Emil Frankl from his book Man's Search for Meaning. When a man finds that it is his destiny to suffer, when a man finds that it is his destiny to suffer, he will have to accept his suffering as his task. And then this one is from Shakespeare's Twelfth Night, Act 2, Scene 5. Be not afraid of greatness. Some are born great, some achieve greatness, and some have greatness thrust upon them. Again, the message that we were building all this while, right, for the impression gets captured in these two quotes beautifully. So that brings us to the end of नाम का मेरे है वो दुख कि किसी को ना मिला, काम में मेरे है वो फितना की बरपा ना हुआ. We hope you enjoyed the impression. Let us know your thoughts. As always, we are very eager to see your comments, read your comments, your feedback on the episode. For all the viewers who do take the time and effort to put in comments and interact with us, a big thank you to you from our hearts. Now, for the new viewers, as always, a strong recommendation to access the episode titled Introduction to DGMC, because it will give you a good insight into the motivation and inspiration behind this podcast. The homepage of the channel has various playlists. Feel free to surf through them and access episodes that interest you. I'm going to go ahead and close this episode now. I'm sending a lot of love and light to all you dear viewers, and thanks for watching.